My name is Emily, and I'm what you might call a professional traveler. I'm a blonde American woman with a permanent tan from too much sun, and I'll admit it, a slightly unhealthy obsession with taking pictures of my latte foam for Instagram. I honestly thought I had survived everything this world could throw at a tourist. I'm talking about hostels with sheets of questionable origin, 12-hour flights seated next to screaming babies, and street food that, let's be honest, should probably have been illegal. But nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, prepared me for the moment I tried to use a Filipino CR, or comfort room, in the province. I arrived in this small, charming town with nothing but a backpack, a straw hat, and the kind of bravado that comes from thinking you can handle anything. My guide, a wonderfully sweet lady named Aling Nina, just smiled at me and said, "You'll need this." She handed me a plastic bucket filled with water and pointed towards a tiny, unassuming room in the corner. I looked at her, completely confused. "This is the bathroom?" I asked, trying my best to sound cool and unfazed. She nodded with this solemn look on her face. "Yes, you wash with the Tabo. You'll understand soon." The Tabo. I'd heard whispers about it in travel forums. I'd laughed at it memes. But now, there it was staring at me. A simple plastic cup with a handle floating innocently in the water. I just stared back at it. My mind was racing. Is this a cup? A scoop? Some kind of tiny water cannon specifically designed to humiliate foreigners? I took a deep breath. Okay, Emily, I am a grown woman. I have survived European squat toilets. I have survived the sensory assault that is an Indian train bathroom. I can do this. I stepped inside. The room was tiny like a closet. There was a squat toilet, yes, the kind where you have to balance precariously over a hole in the floor, and a small drain in the corner. The air smelled interesting, kind of like a mix of herbs and something earthy, something I just couldn't identify. My camera phone was still hanging around my neck, and for a split second, I actually debated filming this for educational purposes. But no, I decided against it. This felt like a sacred and frankly terrifying moment. I picked up the Tabo. It felt heavier than I expected. I stared at the water inside it and thought, okay, Emily, it's just water. You are stronger than your fear. You've been in way worse situations than this. I stepped onto the designated spot, squatted as gracefully as I possibly could, and I froze. How do people do this? How do they balance so perfectly? My legs started shaking. I seriously considered calling Aling Nene back for a tutorial. I considered fleeing the country. I even considered turning this into a viral TikTok titled "Blonde American Woman versus Filipino CR She Didn't Make It." Then I splashed the Tabo water. Immediate regret. Water went everywhere. I panicked. I splashed more. Big mistake. It was total chaos. It felt like I was initiating some kind of ancient, wet ritual in a hidden temple, and I was the very unwilling participant. I thought, maybe I'm supposed to use less water? So I dipped my hand in very carefully, just a little bit, and disaster. My balance faltered. My foot slipped. My heart was pounding out of my chest. I could almost imagine my ancestors somewhere, just rolling their eyes in horror at my complete and utter failure. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, I finished. I washed my hands with some water from the Tabo, shook my head, and stepped out of that little room feeling like a survivor of a war zone. Aling Nena was standing there, smiling patiently. "You did well," she said. "First time, not bad. Not bad, not bad." I felt like I had just faced a hurricane and survived by holding on to a single plastic cup. But over the next few days, I realized something extraordinary. The Tabo isn't just a tool, it's a whole philosophy. In Manila, people rely on fancy bidets or endless rolls of toilet paper. But here, in this small town, the Tabo represents something deeper: practicality, resilience, and incredible efficiency. You conserve water. You clean thoroughly. You gain balance, and you definitely gain humility. By the third day, I was completely obsessed. I started carrying a small Tabo in my bag everywhere I went, Just in case I needed to demonstrate proper technique to fellow, struggling travelers, I became the blonde American Tabo evangelist. The locals would laugh when they saw me practicing my squat and pour, but I could tell they secretly admired my dedication. I started documenting everything. My Instagram stories were filled with updates. Day 3, using the Tabo without fear. I made TikTok videos. How to squat like a Filipino in 10 easy steps. I even created a hashtag. Hashtag Tabo Queen Emily. People started messaging me asking for tutorials. My friends back home were laughing at me, but I didn't care. I was a convert. The moment of true enlightenment came when I visited a provincial fiesta. After dancing for hours, eating way too much lechon, and sampling every single dessert available, nature called. The public bathroom was like a hub of community life. Women were chatting, kids were washing their hands, and grandmothers were lecturing everyone about hygiene. I grabbed my Tabo, took a deep breath, and approached the squat toilet like a warrior queen. I didn't just survive, I thrived. I scooped the water, I balanced. I achieved a level of grace I never knew I possessed. A local woman actually clapped. "You've learned the art," she exclaimed. I bowed dramatically. I had transcended mere tourist status. I was now a disciple of the Tabo. By the end of that week, I realized the Tabo had genuinely changed my life. I was calmer. I was more resourceful. I could balance on one leg while pouring water from a small cup with pinpoint precision. I had gained the respect of the locals, and more importantly, I had gained a new kind of inner peace. I started recommending Tabos to my friends back in the States. It's a lifestyle, I tell them. It's efficient. It's eco-friendly. And you feel connected to the Filipino spirit. People just stared at me. They didn't understand. But I didn't care. I had found enlightenment in a tiny plastic cup. By day 10, I was actually teaching other tourists. I held an impromptu workshop. Tabo 101, How to Conquer the Filipino Bathroom. We practiced squatting techniques, water control, and emergency balance drills. I was in my element. Even some locals started joining in, laughing at my exaggerated instructions, but following every single tip. I had somehow bridged two cultures in the most unexpected way possible, through hygiene and humility. One evening, sitting on the porch of my homestay, sipping a delicious halo, I reflected. "Emily," I whispered to myself, "you came here for adventure, for culture, for Instagram photos of sunsets. But the Tabo, this is your true calling." And from that moment on, I knew my life had been changed forever. No longer would I fear bathrooms abroad. No longer would I underestimate the power of small, simple plastic objects in shaping the human experience. I was the blonde American woman who had been converted, enlightened, and ultimately saved by the Tabo. Back home, I tried explaining it to my friends. "It's not just a cup," I'd say with total seriousness. "It's a philosophy, it's balance, it's life." They laughed. They didn't get it, but that's fine. They don't have to. I know. I'm Emily, I'm a Tabo advocate. And I know that somewhere in the Philippines, right now, another tourist is entering a tiny provincial bathroom for the very first time, wide-eyed and completely unprepared. And I just smiled to myself, knowing that the humble wisdom of the Tabo is about to transform their life too. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to follow my journey for more enlightened travel tips.